Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are still working on Much Ado About Nothing, and today we get to hear from Dogberry at the very end of Act 4, which it's interesting. At this point in the folio, Dogberry is referred to as Keeper. Now remember, he's sort of a policeman, not necessarily very good at his job, and he and Verges overheard Borachio talking to his buddy Conrad, bragging about what he had just done to frame Hero for being unfaithful. So Dogberry and Verges arrested Borachio and Conrad, and then they were going to try to tell Leonato about it, but Leonato was in a hurry to get to the wedding, so he told Dogberry to perform the examination and to dig further into what happened. All that sort of thing. And then Leonato went off to a wedding that didn't actually happen, and Claudio left Hero, and the friar spoke up and said, well, maybe she's being framed, but let's pretend that she's dead for right now so that Claudio will miss her and feel really bad about what he did. And if it all backfires, she can just go be a nun somewhere and that'll be fine. And everybody else is like, great. And then Beatrice wanted Benedict, because they've decided that they love each other, or at least they've told each other that they love each other. She wants him to kill Claudio, and he doesn't really want to kill Claudio, but he's going to go at least challenge Claudio to prove to Beatrice that he is her friend, or to be in her good graces, whatever. So this particular scene in other versions is called Act 4 Scene 2 because everybody else has left the stage, and now we get the clowns coming in, so it feels like it needs to be a different scene, even though, as I've said a bajillion times, in the folio he doesn't delineate scenes. This is all just Act 4. But we get to the trial that is being held, but Dogberry is leading the charge, and there's a sexton there who's taking notes on everything, and these are the clowns in a comedy. It's a very funny scene, and everything that anybody says, Dogberry turns to the sexton and tells him to write it down. So when he's like, what are your names? And he says, Borachio. He's like, write down Borachio. What is your name? And he's Conrad. Write down Conrad. Do you believe in God? Yes, we do. We serve God. Write down that they serve God, and put God first, because God should come first, and all this sort of, it's a ridiculous trial. But they do say, it does come out that Borachio was put up to framing Hero, and that Don John gave him 1,000 crowns to do it, to frame her, and that Don John has left. The sexton leaves the scene, and Dogberry wants Borachio and Conrad to be taken to jail, to a holding cell, while he takes this transcription where everything has been written down to Leonato to show him the findings of this exploratory conversation. And obviously Conrad and Borachio are really not happy about this part, so they start yelling, and they're like, oh, you coxcomb. And he's like, oh, coxcomb, we should write that down. Where is he? He's not there to write it down. And I believe it's Conrad. It's either Conrad or Borachio is like, you, sir, are an ass. You're such an ass. And Dogberry replies, dost thou not suspect my place? Dost thou not suspect my years? Oh, that he were here to write me down an ass. But masters, remember that I am an ass, though it be not written down, yet forget not yet that I am an ass. No, thou villain, you art full of piety, and shall be proved upon by good witness. I am a wise fellow, and which is more, an officer, and which is more, a householder, and which is more, as pretty a piece of flesh as any in Messina, and one that knows the law go to, and a rich fellow enough go to, and a fellow that hath had losses, and one that hath 2 gowns, and everything handsome about him. Bring him away. Oh, that I had been writ down an ass. So he starts out mocking, and then kind of sort of continues mocking throughout the whole bit. He also, there's a lot of malapropisms in this scene where he says one thing but actually means something else. So dost thou not suspect my place? He actually means dost thou not respect my place. So he's saying, you don't respect me, you don't respect that I'm older, you don't respect all of this stuff. And he's like, oh, it's too bad that we don't have it written down that he called me an ass. Like, everybody has to remember this, even though it's not written down, because he says it, therefore it's true. And then he's like, no, 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 you puny little thing. I am smart and a homeowner and an officer, and I know the law, and phooey on you, you're gonna go off to jail. And then it's the last little bit of like, I wish that had been written down. It's just a nice little punctuation mark on the scene. And that's the end of the scene and the act. So tomorrow we get into Act 5, which means we're almost done with this play that we just started like a week and a half ago, but there's really only a handful of monologues left to go in it. It's a fun play, it's a cute play, and I think the fact that there aren't so many monologues means that it should just be sort of rapid fire, roll off the tongue kind of conversation that goes along trippingly, or something to that effect. But it makes for a very brief visit with this play here on Shakesyear. So anyway, I will see you tomorrow as we move closer to the end of this play, and yeah, maybe go pick up a copy or rent a copy of a video. There's been a million movie versions, but yeah, check it out and see what you think when you get to see how all of this comes together when it's not just me talking at you. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow, and I will talk to you some more tomorrow. Mwah.